And I have to say, as someone who has needed to seek a therapist myself, it's incredibly difficult.
Yes.
So when you're talking about these resources that are pretty readily available, and I'm guessing through Hearts2Heal.org, right? It's a gift to give people. And I think about grief, it's very, very sad, right? When should we be aware of the fact that we need to grieve? I've been honest with you about the fact that I lost my father at the age of 2. So by the time I was cognizant of anything, everybody else was done with their active grieving period, right? So what are the signs that you should recognize in yourself, whether it be a job or whether it be a friendship or a loved one, that, hey, actually, I think I need to take some time to recognize the grief and do a little work?
I would say one, the physical being, right? Our body always knows, and there's a book that says body keeps score.
That's
and
right.
And it really does. When my grandmother had passed, my body literally let me know it was time to grieve. I had welts all over my body, hives as if I was allergic to something. And I went to a doctor and said, give me all the allergy tests. Something is happening. I'm allergic to something. And this was a doctor that focused more on holistic healing, less of the pharmaceutical side of it. He said, well, let's talk about what have you been going through? And I said, well, my grandmother passed. I was, there when it happened. I saw this process. She was my best friend. He said, well, what are you doing to go through the grieving process? I said, nothing. I'm just angry. And I was very angry. And so my body started to literally manifest my anger and my grief outwardly because I was trying to internalize everything. So I would say, listen to your body. Do you feel more anxious in a situation? Is your body literally giving you physical signs to show you something is wrong? Are you replaying certain situations in your mind? Are you too close to relationships and not wanting to let go? And so sometimes when you have experienced loss, you're like, I need to be with this person every day. I have to call them. And that's unhealthy as well, because you can't constantly think about the next loss that's going to happen. So I would say, for sure, listen to your body. What is it telling you? Are you having a tough time sleeping at night? Are you sleeping too much? Are you trying to throw yourself into every activity just so that you don't have to think about it? And that's one of the hardest things I would think about grief, is taking the moment to pause and to feel that pain. Once I started to say, okay, grief, we're going to sit in this together, and it's going to be a rocky road, but let's hope we can get to something better after that. And that's really what was transformative for me, was sitting in the space that I feared so much, and that was feeling the pain again. But once I came out of that, I found a new purpose. And with grief, any form of loss, it is one, understanding the new identity that you've been moved into. It's acknowledging what gives me purpose and joy after this situation and in this moment, and identifying people in your life that understand the aspect or some of the pieces of grief that you're going through, because that's really important, is that support system of saying, this is out of Maria's character this week. I haven't heard from her as much or whatnot, as a sign too, because sometimes we don't even acknowledge how we've changed. It's other people around us, and we need positive individuals that can continue to uplift us and push us through.
You have an upcoming summit, as I mentioned at the top of this segment. I want to talk about what you are offering at it.
Yes, so we're excited. We have on September 27th our Grief Experience Summit, and that again is bringing in different speakers to talk about the many forms of grief, not just death related. Our keynote is Marissa Rivera. She is a therapist here in Austin with a focus on grief, and not only is she a therapist, but she's a creative. And so you think about the mix of those two, of finding different outlets that don't look just like therapy. We're having sound bath there as well, so we're trying to show people different modalities of healing. I did not experience my first sound bath until our summit last year, and I absolutely love it. And then at the conclusion of our summit, we have a Reflect and Connect happy hour. So you get to speak with the people that you're meeting at the conference. You're getting to talk about similar situations, and it's in a space that isn't scary. And so that's what we're trying to change with grief too, is that we don't have to tuck it away in the darkness. We can bring it to the forefront, into the light. And there's some joy that can happen when you are convening with community and understanding everyone's experiences, because like we shared before, 100% of people will experience some form of grief or loss in their life. And it's really just helping to move someone forward each time, and being that pillar of constant support, because we know there's no way to take away the pain that grief has, but we can make it to better together.
Mm-hmm. And if somebody is watching today and they're just now hearing about your organization, but they're thinking, how fantastic, I want to help. What do you need for us to support you?
Yes, so of course, funding is always a great help. So donations, that allows for us to have our free to reduce cost therapy program. It allows for us to have our quarterly grief experience workshops, which we are grateful to organizations or businesses like Capital Factory, who has provided free space for us. Oracle has donated venue space so that we can continue to have these events to bring community together. We're also looking for volunteers. So if you have marketing expertise or strategy support and you want to get involved with the organization, even if you're not in Austin, we're open to any volunteers. If you have a story that you want to share, let's bring it to Hearts2Heal so we can show more experiences of grief and loss that aren't just mine. That's one thing that's important too, is to show other people's stories, because there might be something that someone else picks up differently than what I'm sharing. So those are the ways that are most helpful, is by donating, volunteering, sharing your story, even if it's not with Hearts2Heal, just to show that there are people like you that are moving through grief.
Maria, it has been such a lovely conversation. Thank you for what it is you are doing for our community. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
If you'd like to attend the Grief Experience Summit, or you just want to learn more about the nonprofit, you can head to hearts2heal.org.